Hello, and thanks for joining us on our show with Dr. Michael Laitman. Hello, Dr. Laitman. Hello, everyone. On this show, we try to take one concept at a time from the tremendous wisdom of Kabbalah and explain it in a way that's simplest and closest to the heart of those who just started taking interest in Kabbalah. And our concept for today is 125 degrees. Before we start, Dr. Laitman, your teacher was the great Baruch Shalom Alevi Ashlag the Rabash, who was the son and student of Bal Sulam, the great Yehuda Ashlag, who wrote the commentary to who wrote the Sulam commentary, where he describes a gradual development throughout 125 degrees. When I heard about this approach, it gave me this feeling of confidence, because my entire life I'm searching for what is spiritual development. And here you suddenly see this map of development, order, that really gives me confidence. Maybe you can remember many years ago when you just started studying the wisdom of Kabbalah. What did you feel when you discovered that there is a clear order and cause and consequence? I finally felt that there is an order to things and that the world is organized in degrees and different pieces, parts. I was a scientist, and it was very interesting to me that there is such an approach to things that the ordinary people did not discover. But beyond our attainment, our perception, there are 5 worlds, and partsufs, and sfirot, meaning degrees. And all of these are degrees of attainment that we can climb and attain that which is beyond our senses. And it really grabbed me, so much so that I couldn't let go, to this day. Then I was even younger than 30. And today I'm almost 80. So, as you can see, it really grabbed me. Why? Because it explains the entire structure of reality, that there is an upper force that gradually diminishes himself, and builds the worlds. That's how they're called, olam in Hebrew, coming from the word ha'alama, concealment. And throughout these degrees of concealment, he bestows closer and closer and closer to our world until he reaches us. And we are here, under his control. And the purpose of his control over us is in order to gradually elevate us to the highest level of where he exists in and of himself, without any concealment, where he exists without any concealment. And after I discovered these things, and this took some time to grasp this entire picture, this entire approach, and I couldn't let go. And since then, this is what I'm engaged in. Well, this is truly intriguing, and I have plenty of questions, by the way. First of all, the end. 125 degrees. What's the destination? Leading to what? Each and every degree further and further discloses the upper force, called Creator, and is called Creator, Bore in Hebrew, consisting out of the words Bo, Ore, come and see. And that's how Kabbalists called him. Because Bo'o'eh, come and see, is what we need to do. To climb throughout the degrees of attainment, sensation, revelation of the upper force in relation to us. Now we don't feel him? Of course we don't. Where do you feel him? You can say about nature, about people, still vegetative, animate, that it all came from under his hands. But it's not him, and it's not his attainment. But it's the created beings that this is how they seem to us, and that's how we attain them. But it's not him. Or as the wisdom of Kabbalah, what it discloses to a person, the possibilities that it opens to a person is to attain him, the upper force himself. And that's what's special about it. Why does the revelation consist of degrees of attainment? Why is it? Because we can't attain the upper force fully all at once. Why? We're very different from the upper force. And therefore, there are degrees of attainment, concealment, revelation. There is some kind of graduality in the connection, understanding, the change of man in order to attain the upper force, because the attainment of the upper force comes as a result of equivalence of form with him. That means what? Meaning that we need to get his qualities, and then to the measure in which we grasp his characteristics, his nature, his qualities, his attitude, we come closer to him and start feeling who he is. What do we actually discover on each and every degree? The nature of the upper force that is one, unique and unified, that he is entirely good, that does good. Where can we see an orderly map of all the stages, the 125 degrees? Is it written someplace? Is it, Kabbalists, they elaborated on it, that there are 5 worlds. Olam in Hebrew, world in Hebrew, is called olam from the word ha'alama, concealment. What's concealed? The upper force. He conceals himself from us. Yeah? Why? In order to give us the ability through concealment to attain him. Why can't we directly attain him? What do we need the hide and seek for? It's like with, you can't see a great light. You need to gradually discover it and the difference between it and its opposite, the darkness. And then this way we discover the upper force. Why 125 degrees? Why not 100? Why not 50? Why so many? It stems from the distance between our nature and that of the upper force, that all in all, this is how he has created us, in the desire to receive pleasure, that we are his opposite. And therefore, in order to reach some kind of gradation between us and the upper force, that is, between our quality, which is complete reception, and his quality, which is complete bestowal, then in order to connect these two forms of nature, there's need for degrees. The gradual nearing between our nature and his, from the nature of reception and the nature of the giver. Yeah? Why not 100? Why not 50? Why 125? Well, we learn about it. It's because from his desire to receive, that's called keter, down to our desire to receive, that's called malchut, there are 5 degrees. From whose desire to receive? The Creator's? No, the Creator's desire to bestow. Okay, I got confused. Because from the Creator's desire to bestow, to give, to love, down to our desire to receive of the created beings, there are 5 degrees that are called keter chokhmah, bina, za'an, pinan, malchut. Or 5 discernments, bchinot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5, why 125? Because each of them is divided into another 5. So that's 25 degrees, so why 125? No, 5 times 5 times 5. What are these 3 5s? That each and every degree is also divided in the same way, and it is all in order for us to be able to attain the upper through equivalence of form, meaning in the measure to which we're more and more similar to him. Previously said that there are 5 worlds, alamot, concealments, yeah. That the upper force conceals his qualities of love and bestowal, yeah. So there are 5 worlds, and each such world there are 25 degrees, yeah. The imagery of a ladder, what does it want to show us? That we can climb this ladder and reach and become like the upper force. Let's take 1 degree out of the 125. What is a degree? It is a spiritual state, the measure of equality between the created being and the Creator. What happens on every degree in the transition, or when we finish it? It means that to some measure we become more like the Creator. We come closer to Him. And that's why it's called the degrees of ascent. More than on the previous degree? Yeah. Are there tests to cross these degrees? There are conditions that if you meet these conditions, then in keeping them, you become more like the upper force. Can you give us an example? The conditions are such: can you be a bestower like the conditions in a certain degree? And then if you can, be a giver, a bestower, according to these conditions, then that means that you rise to that degree, that you feel it, understand it, and in that measure you reveal the upper force. So these are actually degrees in giving and doing good, of course, and there will be different conditions on every degree. Yeah? Let's take 2 degrees out of the 125. They're different in what? Similar in what? In the desire to bestow in every degree. The higher the degree is, the greater ability it has to bestow, which means to give and love. Yeah. What's our initial state before we start climbing the ladder? Here and now. Which is what? That we have no ability to bestow and no desire to do it. But we live in what we live now, which is the lowest degree. There's nothing lower than this world. Why? This is what you start with. The very first degree on the ladder of spiritual development, what do you have there? In it, there's already some kind of force of bestowal toward others. The last degree, what's in it? It is in complete bestowal in everything. But it's man, a person who elevates himself throughout these degrees, reaches the end that way. How are all the degrees created? From above, down, from the final force of bestowal, that is complete bestowal, down to the force that receives and does not bestow at all, which is the degree of this world. It seems like the Creator built some kind of developmental system for us, like What did he do it for? In order for us to be able to feel, understand, grasp our nature compared to his, and to prefer to ascend to him, to his nature of love and bestowal, versus our nature, which is hate and reception. When we climb the degrees of our development, we need to understand also what our nature is. Yeah? So now I'm not yet familiar with, of course not. You don't even know, you're not aware that your nature is complete reception. Yeah, well, I see that, I think a lot about myself, but I do sometimes see around myself some giving. Well, not that much anymore, but still people do give, volunteer, help. They're good people. What does it mean about the degrees that we yet need to discover? These are the degrees of ascent, of bestowal, of love, of connection. On every degree, I also grasp what my nature is compared to the Creator's nature. Yeah? These two things are becoming ever more revealed. Yeah? So suppose I take the highest, final degree. I come to know what is my original nature that right now I don't feel at all, and also what is the Creator's nature. Yeah? Two opposite forms of nature. Is this oppositeness important? Extremely, because then I can measure what is the Creator's nature compared to the nature of the created being. I read that the upper force created the degrees in a way that every upper degree as if dresses in the lower degree and the degree beneath it. What does it mean? That it builds it, gives birth to it, enlivens it, governs it. And this way, the lower degree is completely controlled 100% by the upper degree. Can you give me an example? Does it also happen now? Did it happen once? Will it happen tomorrow? It happens now too. Even now. We're like puppets on strings, governed by the degree that's higher to us. Really? Yeah? What's governed now like puppets on strings? Everything. Your thought, desire, your everything, and me and everyone else. So what I think now, what I feel now, what I do now is governed by the upper force from a higher degree than we are on. And when you'll climb to a higher degree, then you'll start revealing your connection with the upper degree, the third one, the higher one. Yeah, and it's like a chain of revelations. Yeah. How do you cross a degree? Is there some kind of process in which you cross from degree to degree? This is exactly what the wisdom of Kabbalah is. How can we climb from one degree to the next? What does a person do in order to climb his degrees? He needs to get the character of the higher degree. How does he know? What does he need to do? The wisdom of Kabbalah teaches him how to feel the higher degree, accept its nature, and to climb that way to it. What can help me in this ascent? To keep the laws of the higher degree. Are there certain rules to this? Like mountain climbers, they have rules. Yeah, there are rules. The rules are connection, unity, that in the measure to which those that study the wisdom of Kabbalah wish to climb to a higher degree, then they need to keep their connection. Why is that important? Because this is how they arrange their egoistic desire, making it the opposite, desire to love, to bestow. Are there degrees that are harder to cross and those that are easier to cross? The nature of every degree is steady, fixed. And each degree has its own character. How does a person, in terms of how does a person need to change in order to rise to a higher degree? Can you leap over several degrees? Nah. What? It's like in school. Can you jump a few classes? Well, if you're a genius, in spirituality, maybe, well, you can say that there are such options, but we don't study about that. Is it frightening? The climbing the degrees is dangerous? No. Anyone's invited. Everyone's invited. Do I need to take something with me? What? Patience. Why patience? Because it's a long path that demands lots of effort and persistency. Does it sometimes happen that you climb down? Yeah, climb down, fall, but these are unique cases. What do you do after you fall? Get up and continue like mountain climbers. How does a person measure? How can he know what degree he's on? He has to know. Otherwise, it doesn't mean that he's on that degree. So how does he measure? According to his forces. According to the forces of bestowal. What does this word mean? The forces of connection. If people, degrees, lower, higher degrees, meaning in the measure to which a person's willing to work in connection with higher degrees. This is his force of ascent. So what does he measure? How much connected he is with others? Yeah. The measure in which he's capable of giving to others. How do you know if another person climbed a degree, rose in degree? You can see it, but not always. Usually a person examines himself and works on himself and on others in special cases. Let's talk a bit about the differences between people. Do all people need to climb the same degrees? The same degrees up to the highest one. If everyone climbs the same degrees, is there a difference between what people feel, different people feel? Barely. Were there ever people who reached the very top, the 125th degree? Yeah. The teachers that you learned from, Bala Sulam, did he reach the 125th degree? Yes. The great Baruch Shalom Alevi Ashlak, your teacher, did he reach that degree? Probably so. What do you feel when you reach the end, the highest degree? You reveal the upper force in a full and complete manner. And what does a person understand then? Everything. The whole of creation, what happens in all the worlds and on all degrees. And there's nothing hidden in relation to him in reality. What does he feel? He feels that he is in the whole of reality freely. Why does he become free? Because he's acquired the desire to bestow that fulfills the whole of reality, which is the Creator. Do you think that many people in our time can climb the spiritual ladder? Precisely in our time, called the last generation, the generation of the Messiah, Mashiach, from the word limshoch, to pull, we can pull ourselves to our degree, from the lower degree, from the lowest, the darkest degree to the highest degree, and this way to feel ourselves existing at the very top of the world. What do you have at the top? The knowing, understanding that you are integrated in the whole of reality. This is what you discover. There's no one else to discover but the upper force. And what about all the concealments? Concealments from the word ha'alama? What happens when I reach the highest degree? The concealments disappear. Where do they go? This entire concealment ceases. All the worlds reveal themselves and reveal to themselves all that previously was hidden from them. So it's a flip-flop of revelation, concealment. Yeah? Okay, suppose more and more people will be able to climb the spiritual degrees. How will that affect our day-to-day life? We'll know finally where we are. I hear today from many people, from the media, how much they talk about the different forms of life that live among us, maybe aliens, or that come to visit us, that want to conquer us, etc., in different ways. How much we're trying to leave to different planets and stars. I see that humanity is very much into it and wants to know, are we the only ones in the universe? Is there something else? And here we get the ability to open our senses in a way that will feel the worlds besides this lowest and darkest world. And also those that are in them. And this is how we will really discover a real world. Is it fun? Yeah, because there's nothing hidden from you. And then we know who we are, what do we exist for, how to attain a whole, perfect, and eternal life. It's all possible only through the attainment of the upper worlds. Okay, in order to sum everything up, what is the simplest definition to the concept of the 125 degrees? These are the degrees of the attainment of all the true reality that we exist in. What do you feel when you cross from one step to another? You feel a transition from state to state, just like putting on better glasses. What do I need to do in order to shift, to cross a spiritual degree, to adjust yourself to a higher degree? Suit it. Okay, unfortunately, our time's up. What do you wish me, from heart to heart, as someone who just started studying the wisdom of Kabbalah in relation to the concept of the 125 degrees? Not to lose the inclination to reveal all of these degrees and the forces in them up to the highest degree. Good luck. Thank you very much, Dr. Laitman. Thank you for being with us. Basic concepts and the wisdom of Kabbalah, 125 degrees. Good luck.